Welcome back, everyone, to the New Reality Collective. So, we have begun the next new week of the editions of Neo Reality Collective, and quite a ton of news on Monday to start off this week. So, according to on Bleeding Cool, IGN, Fightful, all that stuff, Games Radar, GameSpot, and all that, let's dig right into these stuff and start talking. Also, I want to make a correction on my Ten of Swords creation number 1. So I didn't think about this at the time, but it does look like it's heading towards Survivor Series idea matchup in tournaments. But anyways, moving on from that. So Jim Lee had suggested that yes, it does look like that Wildstorm's universe of characters will be returning to the DC universe after being gone for some extended period of time. And, yeah, during the DC fandom addresses, Jim Lee stated that Wildstorm characters would be returned to the DC universe in 2021, and Bleeding Cool heard rumors that it was intended that Superman would lead the Authority as part of the comic book's 5G transformation, which is no longer happening, and Bendis is off the books sooner than planned. So when I heard that Superman was going to lead the Authority, that dictatorial group of people that was said, no. That's not how Superman is. But, you know, Didio hates everything, so thank God for that. But, that Wildstorm is part of this whole returning to the DC Universe fold, but now it's, still happening. But Bleeding Cool was told that this week we'll see the return of the Justice Incarnate, the multi-dimensional superhero team created by Grant Morrison as part of Multiverse's End. When last seen in the Wild Hunt, the ship, the Ultima Thule, had been attacked by the Batman Who Laughs, driving the Authority's ship, the Carrier, through the interdimensional space of the Bleed, as established by Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch in Wildstorm's Stormwatch and the Authority stories. And that in the one-shot coming out this week, it is the Justice Incarnate who are piloting the Carrier through the Bleed. And while Goethe does appear in Batman 101, acting as a bodyguard to the newly possible multi-billionaire Lucius Fox, Batman knows him of old and throws out a mention of the Halo Corporation at Grifter. In Wildstorm comic books, the Halo Corporation was founded by Jacob Marlowe and used to finance the Wildcats team. With the help of the Boy, Marlowe created the company and made himself a multi-billionaire to find, train, and fund his fellow descendants in battle with the whatever. So it looks like Lucius Fox is probably gearing up to make a military company, essentially, with Grifter and the Wildcats and the Wildstorm imprint. No idea if that's the full end game, but it does look like it's heading that route. I never read any of the Wildstorm stuff, and while I have heard of the Wildstorm stuff, and I know that they were folded when the New 52 happened, but I never really invested in it. I wasn't reading much in the New 52, and whenever I did read the New 52, it was stories that didn't really have the Wildstorm imprint or some of the Vertigo imprints. So, yeah, my stuff was still DC Universe Cosmic. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Wildstorm characters are folded back into the DC Universe after Death Metal, and how everything is portrayed afterwards for them in the wake of the now defunct 5G plan. So it's going to be interesting. That's the case. So the Queen Ivy thing that was being talked about by Bleeding Cool has been confirmed according to a leaked image of her in the Gotham Joker Warzone book. So yeah, Bleeding Cool. So yeah, Poison Ivy's back and as Queen Ivy, which, okay, I'm still bugged by this idea to turn her to a villain, because I was like, I liked it better when she was an anti-hero. She was interesting as an anti-hero for me. But, this is part of that whole push and pull thing that was going on. Like how Sam Humphries was forbidden to use her or even talk about her. The whole, how they straight washed her and Harley in the comics and merchandise, marrying Harley Quinn in the show, and then splitting Harley for Booster, because that was just smart. They don't even address that. So, yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see where they take this. Like, I hope this is going to lead back to Harley and Ivy getting back together, but I'm not holding my hopes up. Even after Didio left, DC could still make that mistake, but it does seem like the destruction of her home Eden, which is sort of the final memory she has of Harley Quinn, and well, everything just got out of control. So yeah, it's probably going to be a bad run for Poison Ivy for the foreseeable future for out next year, but we'll see where they take her. So, and the WWE front, Roman Reigns said the Paul Heyman pairing lured him back to WWE. So, during the After the Bell podcast, where he discussed his current run with Paul Heyman as well as his spot as the top guy, Corey Graves pointed out that Reigns had a thoroughbred character in NXT, and Reigns talked about how that is being realized now with Heyman by his side. He said this: "That's what I envisioned from a long time ago, and it took a very scenic route to get here, mostly creative team being idiots, and Vince being a horrible person with leadership. So it's still tough for me to brag, but that's what I love about what I'm doing right now. If I don't want to, Paul, tell him what I am, remind them who I am, read that resume right quick, let them know what I've been doing and what I'm about to do." So that's something that's nice about adding a layer to it, being able to play off with somebody, but there's no doubt, man. I'm just doing what I had set out to do back in NXT, back at FCW. Reigns revealed that Dusty Rhodes saw Reigns' potential back when he was a producer in NXT, may he rest in peace. He and Graves talked about how nerve-wracking promo classes would be, and Reigns spoke about how Rhodes gave him the confidence to be the top star that Rhodes knew he could be. "What I was playing for," as Roman says, as far as with Dusty, the American Dream, when he was leading our promo classes, God rest his soul, he got it. He knew it too, because that was tough. We're just in the Dark Warrior house, and we're trying to convey ourselves as super mega stars. It's not easy. And in front of a crew of 30 of your peers, there's no more nerve-wracking scenario. It's probably easier to be in front of 10,000 screen fans who are strangers and do what you want to do because you don't necessarily feel that judgment. To be sitting in the dark room with Dale Highway in front of not only the future of the business, but Dusty Rhodes, but all the dignitaries, as Dusty used to refer to them as, the higher-ups that would come down. It's nerve-wracking. The goal is to find out who you truly are. And here we are looking back on now, and Dusty knew back then who you are today." So, yeah, he talks about how Dusty Rhodes helped him a lot with this whole thing. And, yeah, and Roman then spoke about it. And he said, "It's just something I wanted to do. It was an opportunity to be able to connect a lot of dots." It was, I guess, that kind of a bit of a lure as well to get me back in. But it was for me to know I wanted to go down this route. I just felt like I needed something. I didn't want to just show up, look different, and talk different. I wanted this whole new presentation, and we're going to get to gradually do that. But I thought, what better way to align myself for essentially like a high-powered attorney? If you took the top athlete in the world and you mixed them with like a mafia boss character, that's who I am, like the mob boss who will go out there and do the hit himself. But you got to have somebody who's dotting the I's and crossing the T's for you. You got to have somebody who understands the ins and outs and can add the new layer to the whole character realm, to the personality, not just for me in general, but the organization of what I'm trying to do. So it's been really cool to work with Paul. So they mentioned about, Paul Heyman's connections with the family of the Wild Samoans. And, yeah, he revealed that Paul Heyman would always show him pictures of him and his father and uncle during his days as a photographer. And how he recalled his father and uncle stepping up for Heyman in the locker room and accepting him. So, yeah, Paul Heyman is kind of in with the family, and now he's basically destroying the family on TV with Roman's transformation to the Mad Dog. And it's been fun. It's a wild, fun ride. I've covered that in my Roman Reigns video, but yeah. Speaking of WWE stuff, James Storms agreed to terms with WWE to come back this year, but then when the pandemic happened, this led to this is what it was said. Storm said in an interview with Ryan Satin with Pro Wrestling Sheet, I was like, wait, I think Bobby's going to Raw. This could be interesting, because they said, hey, we're interested. Paul Heyman wants me to reach out to you to bring to Raw. And I told them I would work the weekend of WrestleMania shows with El Drake, Hick to drop the NWA belts to whoever they wanted to drop it to. Just go out on good terms, good business, Then the show got canceled for the NWA. Then it kept snowballing. Essentially, the pandemic happened and yeah, everything just went to hell afterwards. So yeah, bad timing all around. Just royally bad timing. But let's see if James Storms will get back into everything. So, okay, so there's been a report that Retribution is not cleared by the WWE. All 5 members are quarantined. And Ryan Satin tweeted, regarding Retribution not being cleared to compete at the moment, sources tell me all 5 members tested negative. However, the group's members each have to quarantine themselves for 2 weeks because they came into proximity with someone who tested positive. But, they're not going to address that because Vince wants everyone to stay silent, because if they say anything, Vince will lose his reputation, because that's more important than the lives and safety of your public and, everything else. But, yeah, this only further helps destroy the momentum Retribution have. Yeah, they're doing well with the Twitter game, but you can't keep the Twitter game up. Like Becky, like if Becky was only doing the Twitter stuff, but they weren't doing anything with her character, then it wouldn't work. So you could have the best Twitter account ever, and if you're not following up with that kind of stuff, it won't matter. It will never matter. So, yeah. It's just bad all around. Like, this is not the last time regarding WWE and potential COVID cases. So let's move on before we get back to that. So according to a Hollywood Reporter, apparently WWE is going to get his head to court for over possible copyright infringement regarding Orton's tattoos in the 2K game series. Hollywood Reporter and Illinois federal judge handed Catherine Alexander a partial summary judgment by determining that WWE and Take-Two Interactive Software had indeed copied her work regarding Randy Orton's tattoos. A jury will determine whether that rises to copyright infringement. The judge denied the defendant's own motion for summary judgment by deciding that certain questions are triable ones. Those include whether Alexander implicitly licensed Orton to disassemble and display the 6 tattoos she did for him. The tattoos include tribal tattoos on Orton's forearm, a Bible verse on his arm, and a dove, a rose, and a skull, because all Orton's tattoos are mostly skulls. The judge wrote, it's unclear whether Alexander and Orton discussed permissible forms of copying and distributing the tattoo works, or whether as any implied license, including sub-licensing rights, such that Orton could give permission for others to copy Alexander's tattoo works. Thus, the evidence raises a triable issue of fact as to the existence and scope of an implied license, and defendant's motion is denied as to the affirmative defense. Alexander contends she created the tattoos for the purpose of displaying them on Orton's body, and that the defendant used the tattoos for the same purpose to display them on Orton's body in the video games. Alexander also disputes the defendant's characterization of said size of tattoos and maintains they are primarily displayed and clearly visible in the video games. These are material factual disputes. So a trial date has not been given, but yeah, the Take-Two has a history with the copyright infringement case, where they were sued one time, where they beat a copyright suit that claimed to own the tattoo designs featured on bodies of NBA stars LeBron James, Caden Martin, and Eric Bledsoe. In that case, the New York judge ruled that the small display of tattoos in a video game were substantially similar to what were on basketball players, and even if otherwise, the use of copyrighted material was diminished, as there was a reasonable inference of an implied license, and the video game makers also had a good case for fair use. Trial date has not been given for this, so the continuing saga of probably not really a big deal, but let's see how this court goes when there's a trial date. Like they've used Roran's model has been used for years, and it does get updated with new tattoos. So I don't know how long ago that he's had these tattoos, but it is curious to know where they go with this. But like I said, I don't know how long the tattoos have been there, so I don't notice them. I don't even care. I just want to play the game. So what can you do with that? So during Clash of Champions, it was announced on the kickoff that Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, and Nikki Cross are not magically cleared for Clash of Champions. However, there was no confirmation about this because, and I put out a tweet talking about this, because it was once again this frustration I have with WWE and the desire not to be transparent with the public and fans regarding these kind of things. Where I said, "Do we know why? Oh, what's that? We're not going to be informed because it'll look bad. Public safety be damned. Image first." And some people agree with me on that, like how one person told me, "Just say coronavirus is all the world is talking about. It's not a secret." And then I got another from a buddy of mine saying, JC, WWE, I don't think Vince and Co. will ever learn that silencing your wrestlers and keeping everyone in the dark about situations like this is a great way to make everyone lose faith in you. And if anyone supports what WWE does, as they are as delusional as Vince. And then we had this conversation, and basically it came down to F the public image WWE wants to keep having with the whole, we're going to be big as Disney. Then I saw a buddy of mine, Noah Foster, shout out to him. He said, "Well, the company before the people. Thank you and good night. I hope all affected get through this." And like I said, Chelsea Green confirmed she had the virus and was moved and was able to no longer be tested positive for it after 2 weeks. So 2 weeks, she was told, do not tell anyone, but after you're cleared, then you can tell people you weren't infected. And like, screw if anyone came up to you and you couldn't say anything. I guess it's their fault. Which is the continuing trend of, oh my god, Vince, look, I get you don't want to look bad, but what is wrong with saying, hey, these guys got infected, but they know why they can't say it, because Vince caused this issue. Not in the traditional, like, he was at fault here, is because WWE's roster, reportedly at this party they held, were not doing masks, they weren't doing anything, and the management was because at this point, WWE, at the very least, could be probably tried for negligence for handling this, because it's not like AEW at least has done so much crap to try and get this, to make sure everyone stays safe, that if anyone did get infected, they can at least say, at least we tried. Whereas WWE says, oh, we tried, and then stopped, and then we tried again and then stopped, and then we just didn't care anymore. That's my biggest problem with this. Is like they know this, but yeah. So there was an update regarding TikTok downloads set to be banned in the U.S. from Sunday. So a federal judge has blocked the White House's ban on TikTok downloads in the U.S. just hours before the ban was set to take effect on Sunday night. D.C. District Judge Carl Nicholas agreed to TikTok's request for temporary injunction against the U.S. ban after claiming that the Trump administration likely exceeded lawful bounds of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. This act the administration used to justify its ban on TikTok, citing how the IEEPA does not give the president any authority to ban the importation or exportation of information and informational matters and or personal communication which do not involve a transfer of anything of value. Furthermore, Nicholas sided with TikTok when the video app argued the ban will cause irreparable and economical and reputational harm to the app as another reason to temporarily halt the ban. TikTok is still under a threat of effectively shutting down by November 12th if a deal to sell its U.S. operations isn't complete by that deadline. TikTok asked Nicholas for relief on that front as well, but Nicholas said that matter should be handled by another proceeding. So, look, I don't do TikTok. So it doesn't really bother me, but at the same time, like, considering how much TikTok has been accused of data leaks with China, it's understandable to some extent they would try and get rid of it so they could, stop trying to, take our data. But yeah, and it's like, but though at the same time, it's like, does the government here watch us? I'm pretty sure they do. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're watching me right now. Here's my response. So, yeah, okay, so that whole time travel thing that the Avengers Endgame movie did that divided the fan base, surprisingly, regarding the whole paradox-free causality, which, I'm still bugged by that. So, the rules of time travel, this was said that a paradox-free time travel proven possible by physics student. So, this is what they said. The rules of time travel have been debated by scientists and science fiction fans alike for years, but now scientists says been able to square the numbers to show how paradox-free time travel is theoretically possible. This means that should someone be able to time travel, the dreaded butterfly effect might not be as inevitable as has been feared. But that doesn't mean that time travel might not still face unintended consequences. In a peer-reviewed paper published in Classical and Quantum Gravity, University of Queensland student German Tobar are collaborating with the university's physics professor Fabio Costa, mathematically discovered how time travel with free will is logically possible in our universe without any paradox. The math involved all this enough to make Will Hunting scratch his head, but Tobar, like a different Matt Damon character, has been able to science the shit out of theorizing how one could time travel through time without causing those pesky logical paradoxes that bedevil many of the science fiction protagonists. One such example is the so-called grandfather paradox, wherein, as the paper puts it, a time traveler could kill her own grandfather, thus prevent her own birth, leading to a logical inconsistency. Or someone going back to time to prevent the COVID-19 pandemic from happening would then nix the very reason why they ever traveled through time. Yes, it's like those arguments about time traveling in Avengers all over again. This is the paradox and inconsistency that often leads people to think that time travel cannot occur in our universe. Costa said, some physicists say it's possible, but logically it's hard to accept because that would affect our freedom to make any arbitrary action. That would mean you can time travel, but you cannot do anything that would cause a paradox to occur. Tobar basically said, hold my beer, and went about proving that, theoretically, and one can travel time, exert free will, and not create such logical paradoxes. Because classical elements in Einstein's theory of relativity are at odds with each other on that matter. Tobar's paper calculated how close time-like curves are not only compatible with the determinism and local free choice of operations, but also with a rich and diverse range of scenarios and dynamical processes. Or, as popular mechanics scrutiny puts it, as long as just two pieces of an entire scenario within a CTC are still in casual order when you leave, the rest is subject to local free will. Tobar's calculations show how the theoretical one could time travel and exert free will in a way that wouldn't prevent the reason why they went back in time, but it could make them wish they had never time traveled to begin with. In the coronavirus patient zero example, you might try and stop patient zero from becoming infected, but in doing so you would catch the virus and become patient zero, or someone else would. No matter what you did, the cell and events would just recalibrate around you. Try as you might to create a paradox, the events would always adjust themselves to avoid inconsistencies. In the words of those vulnerable time travel experts, Pillis, Princeton, Esk, and Ted Theodore Logan, bogus! So, yeah. So apparently someone proved that, yes, we could go back in time and ultimately do nothing. So essentially what you could make the argument, what they just said here is, we could go back in time and stop 2020 from being a horrible year. It wouldn't matter. It would still happen. So essentially, that is essentially what is being said. You can go back, stop this year from being the disaster it became, stop Trump from being president, stop any of this from happening, it wouldn't matter. Essentially. It affects the president? I don't know. The science is so complicated. And even the writers and directors are still divisive over this. Like, the writers say, yes, Steve time traveled, and yes, that was him in the past. He lived out the days in his life with Peggy Carter. But then the Russo brothers were like, oh, no, this is an alternative version of him running around. It's not the Steve Rogers you remember that just went back in time. So it's like, they don't know. So everyone else has to try and figure it out, essentially. You know, like how people like to say, the Force is the answer. And then you have Han Solo just simply say, that's not how the Force works. So we're stuck. We're stuck. And I don't know how to answer that. I'm not a scientist on this kind of stuff. So, Steven Spielberg's Indiana Jones has essentially fallen apart because no one could agree to a script. So, in an interview with Den of Geek, the screenwriter David Coep explained it was just very hard to have everybody come together and have all the elements. Stephen, Harrison Ford, the script, and Disney come together at once, and it didn't. When James Mangold came in and Steven stepped out, that was a pretty good logical breaking point. It's a gracious time to step out of the door because I think the last thing a new director wants is the old director's writer. So, yeah, and Mangold, who was the Oscar nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay for Logan, recently revealed that he's trying to find an emotional center to operate from the story, informing comicbook.com. So, yeah, he's the writer of Logan, so I have some hope. But, yeah, he talks about that. So apparently there was a whole bunch of chaos, and I'm pretty sure Disney's mostly to blame for this. And Harrison Ford was being stubborn, but it's Harrison Ford, and he tried to push for Han Solo to die like 500 times. So, really, it loses either way. So, there's going to be a mobile version of Dynasty Warriors during a special 20th anniversary live stream at Tokyo Game Show. Koei Tecmo also announced a Japanese-only closed beta with applications opening immediately after the presentation. Titled, I'm not going to say it because I can't pronounce it, in Japan, producer Suzuki described the game as the definitive smartphone action game, one that allows players to easily enjoy exhilarating Dynasty Warriors action and the grand story of the Three Kingdoms. In addition to the main story mode, he said the mobile Dynasty Warriors will also include new game modes such as cooperative play with other users and asynchronous versus matches. The game was played during the live presentation, showcasing the story. After choosing a map location and locking the team of 3 fighters, Suzuki demonstrated the game can be played in both landscape and portrait, switching instantly from one to the other by rotating the phone. Movement is controlled via a virtual touchpad, while the game attacks and special abilities are performed using on-screen buttons. Players can swap between the 3 fighters at any time by tapping their on-screen portraits. Plus, they're joined by an AI partner for combination attacks, one of which included a cinematic where a woman grabbed a soldier with a chain. The main menu also revealed 2 other modes, Free and Conquest. And it was also demonstrating the gacha function seen in many Japanese mobile games where players spend virtual currency to unlock random new fighters as well as concept art of characters. Details on how to register for the closed beta were revealed on the website and Twitter account. Applications will be accepted until Monday, October 5th, with the beta running from October 8th to October 12th. Although beta and full game is currently limited to players in Japan, and the representative told IGN a Western release may be considered at a later date. Now, Dynasty Warriors 9, mixed reception for a lot of people, some bordering on horrendous negative regarding the open world stuff. I haven't played Dynasty Warriors 9 that much to get a full opinion on that, but it feels like eventually you can't really keep the story going. I'm amazed they managed to make it this go as far as it did, because you're telling the same story over and over and over and over and over, just slight variations, but ultimately leads to the same ending. You either get 3 different endings of the kingdoms, you either get the kingdoms endings, or you get the historical ending loosely, and ultimately it means, oh, the 3 kingdoms ultimately meant nothing, and the Jin Dynasty won. So, yeah, it doesn't really work for me. It's starting to lose its magic to me, I think. And so, but also announced was Dynasty Warrior 9 Empires returning, announced for 2021. Heard this, and when I saw it, here's the thing. So, Dynasty Warriors 9 was the first open world installment in the series, and while 9 Empires will stick with its traditional strategic structure, the producers tells IGN that the freedom of approach offered in the mainline game will be replicated in the spin-off, saying we are incorporating a variety of strategies in siege battles. Also supporting 2 co-op version, and the Nintendo Switch version which will be the first Dynasty Warriors game specifically built for the Switch, will exclusively support wireless co-op play. So 9 Empires will also include an enrich edit function to let you create your own officers. The facial editing, which will allow for more customizations compared to previous games. games and compares it to the Noah 2's character creation features. No features will be unique to this next-gen editions of the game, but players should expect improvements of the next game in visual quality, frame rate stability, and crowded, chaotic gameplay. No idea if a release date's been planned than next year. I'm still trying to wonder if this is going to be on all consoles or just stick to PS4 and PS5 for the foreseeable future and then go on. So, yeah, 21 Bridge actress Serena Miller revealed Chadwick Boseman helped her land the role of Frankie Burns and donated some of his salary to cover her pay. He produced 21 Bridges, and he had been really active in trying to get me to do it. He was a fan of my work, which was thrilling, because it was reciprocated from me to him tenfold. So he approached me to do it. He offered me this film, and it was a time when I really didn't want to work anymore. I'd be working non-stop, and I was exhausted, but then I wanted to work with him. She also stated that the pay disparity in Hollywood and revealed Boseman used part of his salary to pay Miller what she deserved. I didn't know whether or not to tell this story, and I haven't yet, but I'm going to tell it because I think it's a testament to who he was. This is a pretty big budget film, and I know that everybody understands about the pay disparity in Hollywood, but I asked for a number that the studio wouldn't get to, and because I was hesitant to go back to work and my daughter was starting school, and it was an inconvenient time, I said, I'll do it if I'm compensated the right way, and Chadwick ended up donating some of his salary to get me the number that I asked for. He said that was what I deserved to be paid. She also believed that Boseman's generosity deserved recognition, as it was unprecedented in the film industry. It was the most astonishing thing I ever experienced. That kind of thing just doesn't happen. He said, you're getting paid what you deserve and what you're worth. It's just unfathomable to imagine a man in the town behaving that graciously or respectively. And the aftermath of this, I've told other male actor friends of mine that story, and they'll all go very, very quiet and go home. Probably just have to sit and think about things for a while. There was no showiness. It was, of course I'll give you that number because that's what you should be paid. And this is after his passing due to colon cancer. And he kept his condition, and he was diagnosed this in 2016, but he kept his condition quiet and continued to film movies and did like big strains on his body, which probably didn't help much. And he said his final confirmed movie role will be a Netflix adaptation of the play Mom Rainey's Black Bottom. Yeah, that's a great way to end things off. Just the name alone gives me a scare. And considering Netflix's recent reputation, I think that might be problematic. So, Shang-Chi's MCU film will feature an iconic villain's lair. So what is this lair? According to the stories close to Murphy's multiverse, the set may be the Valley of the Sleeping Dragon, the haven of the evil space dragon Fin Fang Foom, which may confirm the character's involvement in the film. The source described the set as a hilly seaside location with a temple at its center with the green screen serving as the seashore itself. The other huts that are seen on the set serve their own causes, but most notable features a structure called the Battle Dome, which is enriched by a region where the village warriors hone their skills necessary to protect Fin Fang Foom. Furthermore, the village is led by an elder named Hong Bo, who is joined by an unnamed character played by Michelle Yeoh, who is merely described as another fierce protector. Debuting in 1990's Iron Man 261 by John Bryan and John Romita Jr., the Valley of the Sleeping Giant has been Fin Fang Foom's sanctum since he and his race, the Malokans, I think, I'm pretty sure I butchered that name wrong, first arrived to take over the world. Take the world! Unfortunately for the dragon, a group of warriors dedicated themselves to preventing his attempts at conquest by keeping him asleep, a task which has been passed down throughout the years. So, yeah, oh man, I do not know much about this character or his history, so I have no way to explain this. So we're probably gonna get dragons in the MCU finally, and Iron Man will not be part of it because Tony Stark is dead. Damn you, Infinity Gauntlet and Robert Downey Jr. wanted to do Mr. Whatever, the animal talking movie that no one liked, or at least some people didn't like. So someone had originally auditioned to play James Bond. At the age of 22, this particular actor said he would love to take up the mantle once Daniel Craig steps down as 007. So, who is this actor? He said this: if Barbara, Bond producer Barbara Broccoli, and Mike, co-producer Michael G. Wilson, were interested in that, I would absolutely jump at the opportunity. At this stage, it's a bit all up in the air. We'll see what happens, but yes, I would love to play Bond. It would be very, very exciting. So, who is this actor? It's a man. It's a bird. It's a bird. A plane. No, it's Henry Cavill, The Witcher, and also Sherlock Holmes somehow. So yeah, Superman wants to be 007. I consider he's been lately dipping into the spy era, such as The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Mission Impossible Fallout, which led to, the mustache destruction that we saw in Justice League, the Whedon cut. So, yeah, he revealed this in GQ magazine. All this. How he auditioned at 22, but the role went to Daniel Craig for Casino Royale. And, yeah, I would be interested to see Henry Cavill be James Bond. I think it would fit him. Plus, he's been dipping into the spy genre, so I think it could make it work. Just gets the right material and everything, and we're in business. Business! So, more information, regarding Phantasm joining the DCU comic verse. So it's been confirmed that Batman and Catwoman book will not only be her first appearance. So yeah, she debuted in the 1993 Batman animated movie. The character never transitioned to appear in the comic book universe. 27 years later, she'll make her formal comic book debut with King and Man's Batman and Catwoman. But they did say, but it was said that Phantasm is saying that this will be the tip of the iceberg for her for more books. After this one, there will be a lot of Phantasm stories coming, so we want to set the bar high. In summary, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. So yeah, this was part of the DC Connect number 5 interview. So yeah, it looks like Phantasm is joining the DCU comic verse, not just in Catwoman and Batman, but now it's going to join up with everything else, and it's going to be a very exciting time to see Phantasm and how she is folded into the DCU, much like Harley Quinn was. So pretty excited for that. Pretty excited. So Rockstar North's former president secured $42 million for his new game. Funding will go towards his GTA rival everywhere. So former president and lead producer of the GTA series for GTA 3 to GTA 5, Leslie Benzies, has secured $42 million to develop his Grand Theft Auto competitor everywhere. As spotted by the Telegraph, Benzies' new studio, Build a Rocket Boy, yeah, that's the name, which is both based in Edinburgh and Budapest, has secured the funds from investors like Caveman Fund Makers, Galaxy Interactive, and China Megacorp Nitiz. I don't know. This was part of the whole, breaking he did. But, yeah, so... Yeah, it is weird that the guy who led the GTA through the golden age is no longer working there. I didn't even know that. But, yeah, apparently he was owed $150 million in unpaid royalties back in 2016. And, yeah, deceptions and involvement. And, yeah, and just left afterwards. So, yeah, Everywhere is essentially a GTA fighter, basically. And I don't know the full details of this game. I'm interested to see where it goes, but we'll have to see when more details arrive. Tribeca Film Festival expands to include video games from 2021. Stories have become games, and games have become stories, as they said. They will open submission for games to join the festival as official selections as part of the inaugural Tribeca Games Awards, which will honor upcoming games for selections that demonstrate artistic excellence and storytelling in the game. The newly established advisory board overseeing the festival's new division involves, well, I already mentioned these list of people, so, like in Hideo Kojima, who I thought was the best choice because he is obsessed with film. So, yeah, gaming is getting more and more recognized by people. Now, if only Hollywood can stop making terrible movies. Speaking of, Yakuza's Lee says a Hollywood Yakuza movie will only proceed if it's really good, which means it will never happen. But he said, I don't think a Yakuza movie is something that needs to be done for the sake of it. Well, this is Hollywood, so they'll destroy it. We had an offer from the West, and a Yakuza movie is now underway in Hollywood, confirmed, heard on a live stream. In a case like this, usually you have to decide that wants to license the IP for other projects, and the side that owns the IP, and a deal tends to be done as business. But in this case, I made it clear from the beginning that if the content itself was no good and I didn't agree with it, then I would not want to do it, and I've been very upfront about it. I've told them it would only proceed if it's really good, so it's a bit different arrangement than the standard alliance. I don't think a Yakuza movie is something that needs to be done for the sake of it, so it can only happen if it's going to be good. So Yakuza offers us a new playground which just set compelling stories with complex characters and a unique environment that audiences have rarely seen before. The saga of Kazumu Kiryu, who has a built-in cinematic appeal, a mix of kinetic action with bursts of comedy, multiple converging storylines, and a gripping journey towards redemption. So, yeah, it is going to be interesting how Yakuza is embraced in the Hollywood space. I don't have much confidence because this is Hollywood and they'll probably wreck it. But he's confident that if he's getting this, it has to be good. It has to be good. Yeah, so I did look back on that. So Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires is going to be coming out for PS5, PS4, Series X, Series S, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. So we'll have to look forward to that when that comes out. But that's 2021, and we're still in 2020 as much as we don't want it to be anymore. Also coming in 2021, Resident Evil returns as a Netflix series. Hooray! Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. So the surprise announcement was scrubbed somewhat by a premature tweet from Netflix Portugal, but the show was officially revealed a short while later at the Tokyo Game Show. Not much is known about the new venture, but the CGI series is thought to debut sometime in 2021, and it looks to star the protagonists from Resident Evil 2, Leon Kennedy, and Claire Redfield. And right now, details are sparse about that, but nothing's been set in stone for that yet. But we'll have to see where they take this, and I'm curious. I hope it's good. I hope it's good after everyone's bitter feelings regarding Resident Evil movies. Yeah. So Witcher 2 recasted Exgol all after the actor left. So the favorite actor, Basil Endenburns, will play the fellow Witcher in season 2. So, okay, due to all the scheduling conflicts with the previous actor due to the COVID virus, damn them, they had to change plans, so they have a new actor on board. Let's see how this works out and whatnot. So Millie Bobby Brown reveals the meaning of her character's inspiring last line. And, let's see. She said this in an interview: "The future is up to us" in the movie, and tells the importance of that role, telling Deadline why that was such an important sentiment to end on. I do feel ours is an amazing generation of evil people. Well, in my humble opinion. I know that many of our friends, especially the kids on Stranger Things, were all very strong people, and we haven't necessarily had the most amazing roles in the generation above us, but we've had our own role models, and for me, I think Audrey Hepburn and everything she ever did, really, I'm kind of obsessed with. So we all found people in previous generations to look up to and admire. I feel like a generation is specifically formed with very open-minded people, and we're classed as new thinkers. Yeah, I don't want to go into this because if I talk about it, I will go into a rant about the future of humanity, and I don't want to go into that. I really, really don't. Because if I go into that, it will be a rabbit hole I can never escape from. So let's move on. Starfield leaked images may give us our first look at Bethesda's space RPG. So some leaked images came out, looking like it's going to be a crazy, wild ride looking through space. So essentially, like No Man's Sky, but but like it could be something else. But something other than a short teaser that was released back in 2018. But yeah, it is going to be interesting. I hope it's good, but especially now with the Bethesda management on board being overseen by Microsoft, I'm hoping for that. And also, the new Batwoman, Jeff Leslie, has been revealed, and yeah, I haven't watched the other show, so yeah. So yeah, she's suited up, she's ready to go, and ready to kick butt. There were more leaked information regarding the controller of the PS5, giving some details on the hardware, and showing 9 images of the entirely disassembled console were apparently shared via WhatsApp. So it appeared on Instagram. So I'm pretty sure that's going to motivate more people to think that WhatsApp should be removed, since Trump tried to ban that as well. And Amazon Prime Day is set to have a 2-day mega sale for 2020, scheduled to start on October 13th at 100 hours. It's going to be a 48-hour sale and ending on October 14th at 23:59, basically 11:59. So, yeah, we got Amazon Day being a 2-day mega event because 2020 sucked. So that's going to be exciting, and I'm pretty sure it's going to crash the site if they didn't buy enough servers, because they couldn't even afford to get the whole thing ready for, the Xbox One and PS5, and that was a complete disaster at times. So James Cameron has announced that Avatar 2 is finished filming, with Avatar 3 95% done. It's still 2 years until Avatar 2 finally arrives, but the live-action elements of Avatar and its follow-up have been completed, telling an audience at the 2020 Austin World Summit via Cinema Blend. The day we deliver Avatar 2, we'll just start working on finishing Avatar 3, so where we are right now, I'm down in New Zealand shooting. We're shooting the remainder of the live-action. We got about 10% left to go. We're 100% complete on Avatar 2, and we're sort of 95% complete on Avatar 3. So yeah, it's going to be. The budget is rumored to be around $1 billion for 4 sequels, so $250 million a pop. Starting development back in 2017, when filming was halted earlier this year due to the virus. The producers have kept us informed about how things have been going with behind-the-scenes shots of Sigourney Weaver underwater, concept art of showing off a crab suit, and more featuring the actors involved in action, all being shared on social media. So yeah, Avatar 2 is set for December 16, 2022. Avatar 3, 2024, Avatar 4, 2026, and Avatar 5, 2028. So we have a long time before we ever get this super mega series ending. Borat 2 releases seemingly imminent are very long, and root title announced. Yeah, never heard of this stuff, so yeah, apparently this is what. Yeah, apparently, so I'm trying to see what the. Apparently, this film was made in secret, and yeah, I don't know anything about this, but apparently it's a very insane movie. We'll have to see where that goes. I don't really know much about this movie. Final Fantasy 16 trailer was made in-game so players wouldn't worry about the release date. So producers don't like comments about a 2035 release date. So this was all shot in game, and they said that was something, and they said that releasing a pre-rendered movie was something we didn't want to do this time around, and the team wanted to focus on having as many in-game clips as possible. In part, that's because he's seen comments online suggesting that the pre-rendered trailer would mean the game was still a long way from completion, joking that people would like to say, "Well, I guess I'll see you in 2035," right? And they did say, however, it did take a lot of time, and the team barely did any perfecting or tuning for the scenes included in it to make them look better. As a result, the acclaimed producer seems to suggest Final Fantasy 16 might look quite as good as the other next-gen titles right now, but he says we'll reveal more again when it's done properly. Later on, he said he hoped to concentrate development until 2021, but that he was hoping to launch a teaser site next month to offer a little more information about the world and characters of the next game. Despite players' apparent concerns, the game is still a long way. We might be getting our hands on it sooner than many think. Last week, Bloomberg reporter, I talked about this, how the game has been in development for at least 4 years and at some capacity and might be coming sooner than people think. No release date has been announced, but it is probably going to come much sooner than initially said. So, xCloud iOS announcement could be incoming according to recent rumors. An announcement about it could be coming on the horizon to recent rumors. Windows Central journalist Jez Corden has replied to a series of different tweets that seem to suggest news could be coming on the way regarding xCloud on iOS. In one tweet regarding Bethesda games on different platforms in the future, Corden dropped the suggestion of using an iOS device, which could be hinting at as a yet unannounced news that Microsoft's cloud streaming service may be coming to App Store in the future. Another tweet suggests that the big tech news on the way, as hinted by Corden and Verge journalist Tom Warren. While this is all conjecture, folks on Reddit are reading tweets and speculating whether or not they are hinting at an upcoming announcement. So, still uncertainty. Microsoft was reportedly unhappy with the new update. So, I want to see it happen, but I think they're still working out a deal with Apple. Let's see if anything progress was made, but we'll have to see. But speaking of crazy concepts that did not end well, but sadly looks like it could change. So apparently there was concept art that came out that showed Rey using the Force to defeat an army of stormtroopers. Yeah, man. There's been so much stuff in episode 9 that was taken out or removed because certain people were involved, or they didn't want this to be this way. They wanted it to be their way, the Disney Corporation. I'm already fed up with that, so let's move on. Bethesda founder on Microsoft's purchase. When Microsoft owns, Sony cannot get. Christopher Weaver discusses the future of his former company. He said, the acquisition of Bungie acted as an important trigger for the success of the early Xbox. Depending on how soon Bethesda can prime the Microsoft pipeline, I suspect Microsoft is looking at their playbook and looking to repeat one of its best moves. If the strategy works, it will be a brilliant counter move against Sony. Users from around the world will be the ultimate benefactors of this deal. Well, except for the PS5 guys, but they're still doing it on a case-by-case basis. So we'll see. I do not think it's not any accident that this announcement occurred so close to the PS5 announcement, Weaver says of the acquisition. There are only a limited number of proven creators of AAA games where Microsoft owns, Sony cannot get. And Phil Spencer assured fans Bethesda will operate semi-independently following the acquisition and that the internal structure won't be affected. However, Weaver says he has yet to meet an executive who does not want to accelerate the sale of a potential product. Suggesting Microsoft may want to hurry Bethesda's next big release if only as an opportunity to make full use of the studio as an asset. That said, he did cushion this theory with the belief, I have to believe Microsoft execs will be responsive to Bethesda's input. Okay, fire Todd Howard and then we're in business. Because he's been... I don't like Todd Howard much anymore as a developer because after the debacle that was the Creation Club and then the Fallout 76 and how it was all handled the year and year after, it just feels like he's probably not fit to lead anything anymore on this. So, yeah, best for him to leave. Xbox Series X will support backwards compatible crossplay. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, it was confirmed according to GameSpot. First-party titles will support cross-gen multiplayer, but third-party titles, it'll be the developer's choice as to whether players on different consoles will be playing together. So, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is confirmed to have cross-gen play. For example, The Verge tested a little further and stated that in every multiplayer game I've tested on Series X, I was able to join friends who were using an Xbox One and match against other Xbox One players. So, yeah, I'm glad they're adding that feature into the Xbox Series X, and the developers are given the choice. But, yeah, I know Microsoft still sees that there is value in backwards compatibility, whereas Sony says, oh, only PS4 games can play on the 5 because architecture reasons, even though Microsoft proved that wrong. So, yeah. Dogman, Grime and Punishment sells 459,000 copies after 2 weeks on shelves. Never played this game or book. Is it a book or a game? Oh, it's a book. Yeah, I think it's a book. Yeah, it's the 9th book in Plinky's hit series. So I never read it, so I have no thoughts on this. So congratulations to them for making that much copies in 2 weeks. Razer unleashes a wireless triumvirate with new spins on the Black Shark, Death Adder, and Black Widow. So they've announced new wireless devices, headphones, keyboard, and mouse, calling it the Wireless Triumvirate. So I don't know much about the tech stuff, but apparently there were some good reviews about it. And the total price for each of them is the headset's $179, the mouse is $129 or $130, and the keyboard is $229. Yeah, so all of it's in the hundreds. So basically, it will cost you up to $500. Yeah, that's gonna suck for people, but they'll do it. So Earth 1 continues its return to the world of comics. So Wonder Woman Earth 1 Volume 3 by Grant Morrison is set to reach its conclusion next year in 2021, and where the synopsis says this: Diana, now Queen of the Amazon, must assemble to disparate Amazonian tribes for the first time in the millennia. Max Lord's assault on Paradise Island with his destructive Ares armor is on the horizon. In order to weather the war that is coming, Wonder Woman will need the full might of her sisters by her side. Can Diana finally bring her message of peace to the man's world, or will Maxwell Lord's war burn the world and the Amazon to ashes? So, yeah, Maxwell Lord's back, and he's already busy with the movies. And now he's back again in the Wonder Woman main comics, so he's certainly being used again. So, it is set to be the last book, apparently, at least possibly in Grant Morrison stuff. But it's due for March 9, 2021. Excited for that. I've read the 2 volumes. I'll probably talk about the 2 volumes as we get closer to Volume 3's release. But, oh man. I just... Yeah, we're going to get the last act of the Amazon's attack. So they're screwed. Let's just hope it's better than the last Amazon's attack story. So Xbox Series X reserves a chunk of its 1TB SSD for the OS, but there's plenty left over. So it was confirmed that while it does come with a 1TB built-in storage space, you won't be able to use all that for the gaming. Instead, it was confirmed that according to hands-on with the console, it was confirmed that it will be at 826GB of storage space for its use of their own purposes. The 1TB expansion of Seagate gives you another 920GB of usable space, and it's quite expensive per card, or at $219, but at least it's more than doubles your room for upcoming Xbox Series X games. So, yeah, it kind of sucks that they do that, but I totally get it. But, yeah. Season 6 of Call of Duty is on the way, and let's see, September 29th launches the next season of Call of Duty, which is tomorrow, so look forward to that. Not much of a Call of Duty multiplayer guy anymore. I just moved on from it. But apparently it includes vampire bats, new maps, modes, and lots more. New operators for the fight, a terrifying mid-season event, a powerful new pet, which is the vampire bat, a new way to travel. So, yeah. So, ravens are replaced for vampire bats to kick off the Halloween season theme. Brace the madness in this highly grounded, realistic shooter idea. So, Xbox Series X Quick Resume can support 4 to 6 games at once, early reports say. So, it says it can keep up to 4 to 6 games loaded at once. So it can let you swap between multiple games in progress, and it says to 4 to 6, depending on, probably based on how powerful they are. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, that's about it for this day of news. Pretty heavy stuff. We're at 58-minute mark and 30-second mark. It's just insane how these days have been getting. But we need a lot of positive as much as we can these days. I'm hoping to make more content in the future with the Fox series, but as part of the continuing rise of the 2021 DC Comics stuff, last one, there's apparently going to be a new look for Vixen when everything comes back, when she comes back to the DC universe. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. But that's about it for all the talks of Monday's edition of Neo Reality Collective. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you all next time. Stay safe, everyone.